Let's have a look. Commander Torres is here. Lisa is here. Susie is here. Hey, everyone. So I want to make sure I'm not leaning a little too close to my mic and peeking my mic out. Oh, 1 second, folks. And then I can just move that. Hello, Susie. Hello, Devlin. Looks like the gang is all here, or getting here, as it were. So, that's great. All right, gonna go ahead and do the start. All right, and Lisa is here. Awesome, okay. Folks are starting to roll in. How is everybody doing tonight? It's good to see you. Good to see all of you. Stream health. It says stream is healthy. Yeah, for those of you, who may have missed everything, me doing a little catch-up post on the Discord. All of these glitches and hiccups and interruptions that we've been having for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I went in and I made some adjustments in OBS and, reset some things. We just watched a few tutorials and educated myself. The main thing was the frame rate, which was at 60, which it absolutely does not need to be for an old man sitting in a chair reading a book. I can understand, people who use OBS for gaming need that, but that I feel like that was the main problem, because that was the big complaint. The big alert that YouTube was constantly giving me was that YouTube is not getting the video in fast enough, what have you. So I think that was the issue. Now, right now, as far as I can tell, I've got just decent, solid connection here. Speed test is telling me I'm at 92, 91. 91, 92 down, probably going to be about 55 up. Okay, that should do it. Even though I should be uniformly getting everything faster. But that just seems to be the way it is. It's technically I'm supposed to have gigaspeed, but it depends upon what server, the ISP chooses to connect to. Because some of them are that fast and others are not. C'est la vie. Alright, so folks are just, they're here. Y'all are kind of turning up slowly as things settle in, but it's good to see everyone, good to be with everyone. I hope that you have all had a good week so far. I'm going to reposition my mic a little bit. I feel like I'm leaning in a little too closely and I'm probably very, very loud. Killswitch made it. Hey. Devlin is reading The Examiner by Janice Hallett tonight. That sounds interesting. Novel, nonfiction? Yeah, do tell. So tonight, my choice is I'm gearing up for Halloween season, and this is a new coming out next month, medieval horror novella from a fellow named S.J. Shank, whose first book I read. He sent that to me. It came out about a year before last, and I'll be reviewing that as well as part of my Halloween celebration. A really extraordinary and unusual approach to medieval horror. And this one is a pretty brief novella, so I'm hoping to get through it quickly. But, I thought it would be the ideal reading for tonight. So that's what I am starting. And I'm very excited to be getting into it. The first book was one of those that I had to read at least twice, because there are a whole lot of layers in there, and there's a whole lot that you have to really, really engage with to figure out what's going on. So, anyway, Susie's reading Valor by John Gwynne. Yeah. Well, that's strange. They're just these random words with vowels that, the UK and, and Americans spell differently, just like, we're the only country who still doesn't do metric. So we're just weirdos in a lot of ways. Commander Torres is reading The Rhesus Chart by Charlie Strauss, and that's great. And then one of the laundry files. God, I've got to get caught up with the laundry files in a big way. Okay, Devlin tells us The Examiner is a murder mystery told through DMs, chat logs, and emails. Well, now that's interesting. That's very interesting. I'd be curious to know what you think of that. Kill Switch is reading Dinner at the Night Library by Hika Harada. And, okay. Well, it is awesome to be with you guys this week. This has been a pretty decent week over here, if I do say so. Not just in terms of household stuff. We are gearing up still for the big road trip that I won't be going on. I'll be staying here and manning the fort and taking care of, the house and all the other little adoptables, all the other rescues and fosters. While Holly hits the road, we have one who is getting a home, and it's just very, very exciting, but also kind of bittersweet because I'm going to miss her. I'm going to miss that big goofball, but I hope that this really does turn out to be like the perfect home for this dog. So fingers crossed that it all works out there. Yeah, so 3/4 of the way through and loving it. Well, that sounds that sounds actually really, really compelling. So awesome. Well, as always, it's terrific to be with you guys this Thursday night, as it is every Thursday night. I love just having this reading time with y'all. As I was setting up, there were actually all day today, because I was having to drive back and forth and run some errands. Trains have been busy. It's been a big train day, so so hopefully they'll join us tonight on the stream. Yeah, fingers crossed, Kill Switch. In fact, the train traffic here has been heavier during the day this week, so I don't know if I don't know what that is, or maybe I'm just hitting it at certain times, but the way things work, there's a big intersection where, you cross and then there's a railroad track just right on the other side, and everybody who takes a left turn or a turn at that street gets caught by the train. There's usually this big lineup of cars. But if you know where to go, there is a there's not a shortcut, but there's a little clever detour through a neighborhood you can take. Totally miss that track. But through that neighborhood, there is another set of tracks that's almost always deserted. And this week, there have been at least 2 occasions where I'd be like, oh, there's a train and everyone's backed up. I'll just drive around. And then that track has had trains hitting it. So it's like, I never see those tracks. That's that other set of tracks that heavy. So I guess that's great for train lovers. Not great if you're stuck in traffic, though. So it is what it is. So let's see. I got offered the federal for my position, so I want to. Sweet. Oh, okay. Well, that's exciting news. I'm very happy to hear that. Very happy to hear that. That's awesome. Yes. Oh, that's great. It's a cause to celebrate. Right, so. All right, so we're up to a decent little audience now, hitting good average numbers. So if you're just now turning up, let us know what you've brought to read tonight in chat, or if you just want to lurk, lurking is awesome as well. Lurking is just fine. And if you're new to the Kill Switch, I know I have gotten out of the habit. You'd think it would just be a basic brain matter thing, and in fact, I could do it while I'm sitting here. I forgot to put the little notification on Bluesky, so I will do that. But for the moment, I am going to go ahead and start the timer, and then I'll do that other. So yeah, just go back here. All right, everyone, do 2 45-minute sessions, and the first one has started now. 45 minutes and counting for session 1. And then I'll put this little notif up on Bluesky and dig into this book tonight, because I'm really excited about it. So let's see. No, that's not the one. That's it. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so that is now set up and posted on Bluesky. Let me just see. Yeah, so it's one thing to change a title. It's one thing to go through the entire text of a 500-600 page book and deal with that. Replacing some. It's never actually occurred to me to look into why certain spellings of particular words changed. Like the valor with an O instead of like the OU for the British vowel usage, and double vowels for the British usage and single vowels for the American usage. As like that. There must be a reason. There's always a reason for things, and reasons for those little kinds of syntactical changes to language, but I guess I've never really thought to look that one up as to why that's the way it is. That'd be a little interesting bit of trivia to know, anyway. Let's see. Hey, Justine. Thanks for joining. Oh, there's Killswitch with a reference. Lexicographer's Dilemma. The evolution of proper English from Shakespeare to South Park. Oh, yeah, sure. They're both correct, but yeah, it's those regional. That little bit of linguistic evolution is just such an interesting thing to think about. Two separate spellings of the same word, both of which are correct. Right, exactly. Quick look at chat, make sure everything is. Oh, hello there. And Jerry, good to see you. Happy that you dropped by. I hope you've been doing really well. Okay. Oh, hi there, Tommy. Birds active in the tree again. Devlin, are you asking me? Or... Oh, okay, I'm sorry. You might have just turned up to the stream after I'd just given a really brief overview of it. S.J. Shank is an independent writer whose first book came out a couple of years ago, and it was a medieval horror short novel, which I will be talking about over my Halloween coverage period. But this is the newest work, which is a novella coming out in September, and it is also a horror story, medieval horror. And at the moment, I am not 100% sure what the plot is, but I'm just starting out, and apparently I have it is set not in the same past. It's its own story as his earlier story, but I don't know. All I know is this is another medieval horror opus. We open with a small band of German soldiers who have are warriors, fighters, knights who have just, been absolutely wiped out, and there's like maybe 6 of them left, and so I guess they're going to try to get somewhere where that is safe for them, and and then things will occur. So I'm looking for a very, if it's anything like the first one, a very atmospheric and very eerie experience. So that is that. The good Middle Ages horror opus. That's not about the usual things, like plague or anything like that. And I just got emailed the arc for this yesterday, so just decided to dive right in. Yeah, I have a whole video planned on this little genre here. 2 books I've already mentioned by this author, and I think I'm going to be looking at about 3 or 4 others. Because, I don't know, I've just been on a kick lately. So... is an obnoxiously loud truck. More trains, please. Fewer trucks. Thank you. I'm sure someone heard me. I guess I just have the touch tonight. I don't know. Hang on, I have to get caught up here. City of New Orleans. New Orleans. Illinois Central Railroad, City of New Orleans, in bittersweet and nostalgic terms. Let's see what that did. Well, I'm gonna really quick and great, kill switch, and then I'm gonna go real quickly and add it to my library. So it comes up number 1 on his top songs here. So I suppose that Arlo had no idea that this little song he reluctantly agreed to sit and listen to while he drank a beer would become his most popular song that he would ever record. So, and then right under that he has another song called Last Train. I detect a train theme when it comes to '72. Oh, that's great. I'll watch those afterwards. So. That's what I enjoy about these evenings. And a lot of times, I'll come away from the stream with just some new to me thing, right? To discover, to check out. There's some new video or piece of fact, one of Killswitch's train stories, or a song or something like that. Just some sort of new discovery, even if it's small. It's just a new discovery, and that's really cool. Okay. Felt my eyelids getting a little heavy there, but it is an alarm. Time for the intermission. I'm going to get myself caffeinated and come on back. So, see you guys in 5. And we are back. Pardon me, everyone. It is not hot out here tonight, but still a great deal of mugginess. But anyway, you can see up here in the corner, sky is now a deep, deep blue, inching towards full dark of night, and we are getting ready. Oh, hello. Oh, there goes Mr. Ash behind me. Oh, come on out of the chair, boy. No, he's exploring. He's doing kitty cat things. He's a good fella. We worry about him a little bit because he seems really thin, but he eats in a very hearty way, so I feel like he's probably okay. He's just a small cat, I guess. It would be wonderful to let him come in and experience some of the air conditioning, and I don't know, just unfortunately with dogs going in and out and all around, I don't think that he would take to that pretty nicely, and I don't think they'd take to him. So, but he does okay out here. He knows how to stay out of the heat and stay out of rain and all the rest of it. So, all right, everyone. So, stream's current bit rates. Let me have a look. Lower than the recommended bit rate. Well, maybe it's lower than the recommended bit rate because I dropped the frame rate, but I don't think that would have anything to do with the bit rate. But I'm looking at my monitor here, and everything's okay. I'm just, in a very, very small way. I'm not going to say I'm paranoid, but I am just, very cautious in keeping an eye on the quality of the stream, and it looks good to me on YouTube, so that seems fine. That's just my main thing, is I don't want the hang-ups and the lag and the glitching that we'd been having for the last, 3 episodes at least. So I'm not going to worry about this little alert. Pardon me. We're just going to get on with it. So reset the clock, 45 minutes, and counting, for session 2 has begun, and this is starting to get interesting. Pretty intriguing. I found out. So that's another thing. What I enjoy about this author's books is he doesn't just spoon feed you everything. I find myself having to Google things and look things up, and so I have found out that we are in Livonia, which today has I guess been split up into Latvia and Estonia, and we're from the point of view, I guess, of this very young sort of German squire, and he's just had an alarming situation where it appears that a snake has just spoken to him, which I think, if you're a medieval Christian, is a really pretty scary thing to experience. So anyway. So from here, I'm going to move forward and see what happens. All right, yeah. Looks and sounds good. Devlin, thank you, Devlin. So, right, okay. Well, I'm not going to worry about anything then. I feel like, definitely resetting the frame rate made a difference, because everything has been smooth here tonight on my end. So, great. Okay, let's do it. Well, yeah, that is a very fair point. Yes, true. I can't. I'm thinking back to any time in particular that a snake might have had something to say to me, and I am drawing a blank. So yes, yeah. So it'd be very concerning now. That's a true fact. Just if you were in the Middle Ages, it would be like that much more concerning. I suspect. It'd feel like maybe you were just in the Monty Python version of the Middle Ages at that point. So, you need to have talking snakes and killer rabbits. The only snake I've seen here... Oh, sure. Yeah. We found a little baby grass snake, a little baby garter snake. At some point, a few years ago. Tiny little thing, little round head. But I haven't actually really encountered any snakes here in town. There's large bodies of water, you know, kind of swampy lakes nearby. Which, you know, the snakes really love it over there. But, yeah. They are. Just little bitty things. Just slithering along and exploring their world. They are cute. Yeah, the smoothness of the scales. It's just, yeah, they really are just. It's a unique kind of softness. It's there's a gentleness to it that is not like, you know, many other animals I would suspect. So. And then you feel along its body. Because I had friends who've had reptiles and some snakes or something, and one guy who just would have his draped around him, you know. And you just rub your hand along the snake's body until you can feel where the heart is. You can just rest your hand there and feel the heartbeat. And it's a really, it's just a beautiful feeling, you know. It's just... Oh, I'm glad you caught them. Yeah, yeah. little surprised faces.
What on earth was that? That's a strange noise.
Lithuania, okay. But, had to go to Wikipedia to look up another thing. I like books that make me do that. Some people would be like, yeah, it's annoying. I don't have to look stuff up. But, oh, that's cool. Fiction is really good when it's
when you learn as well as receive the entertainment. Yeah, I just think that's cool. Yeah, exactly. Kill switch. I don't know. It's possible. Some people maybe want. I don't know. I can see how maybe some people might just want their fiction to not, be like, I couldn't understand it. I didn't get what was going on. It's like, okay, yeah. Well, sometimes you've got to, just some people might feel they're being asked to do extra work instead of having something just explained right there in the text, just spelled out for them. I can see how some readers might resent having to do the effort. Yeah. Why don't you just explain it? Yeah, but sometimes it's more interesting because to me that's the sign that the story, if the story is interesting enough to make me want to learn more about what's being discussed and talked about in the setting and all of that, and the history, especially if it's historical fiction, then yeah, I mean I think that's awesome. George, my goodness. I really don't deserve this generosity, George, but you've always been such an old buddy, and thank you. I hope you're doing well. Huzzah! I learned to read Harlequin romances back in the day. I didn't know they were that spicy, Kill Switch. Or you might. Yeah, boy, Ted, those were the days, man. You realize that the whole publishing era kind of came to an end. Well, now especially it's come to an end with, just the extinction of mass market paperbacks. But that kind of serial fiction, I was in college, like my first semester or two in college, when I went to University of Houston, and so I worked at a B. Dalton's, my neighborhood B. Dalton's. I'm sure many of you, if you're of a certain age, will remember B. Dalton's, and which was a job I was very excited to get at age 19 because I've been going to that store and buying my little science fiction books, since I was about 13. But I do remember how these ladies would come in and they would just have their stacks of their Harlequins and their silhouettes, right? Just big stacks of them. And yeah, I guess they had to sort of finesse it, didn't they, Kelswitch? Cheesy sci-fi, that's so embarrassing. We will not. Well, George, you can't just. No, you can't just be tantalizing like that, George. I need to... Now I must know what it is. Because, especially if it's that cheesy, I'm going to have to read it. But you can communicate to me privately if you'd rather. What that is. But another thing, now let's talk about learning experiences, right? Because you could find out a great deal about people. Like, you could get a window into their lives very directly, simply by virtue of what they buy to read, what they're reading. And this was also, the mid-'80s also saw this little rush of self-help books for women, particularly women, I guess, in really bad relationships, okay, or marriages. Nowadays, I think, maybe, women congregate and discuss these stuffs among these things, these topics with each other online and that sort of thing. But there was this rush of books at that time. And I remember one night we were at work, and I was just there, my assistant manager, who was also like a fantasy nerd and a D&D guy. So it was like when we were working nights, we would just have a lot of fun at the store. Okay. But there was this one, like older couple that came in. And he was buying all these men's adventure paperbacks, like these really macho books, like the male version of what Harlequin and Silhouette were offering women, except these were all like action oriented. So we're talking about like the Destroyer and Mac Bolan, Able Team, books like that. He has his little stack of those, right? And then she has her stack. They don't ring theirs up to, they ring theirs up separately, even though they came in as a couple. But she was reading, like, she had picked up, there's one best-selling book at the time, I remember, it's called Men Who Hate Women and the Women Who Love Them. And that was a huge mid-'80s bestseller, which I think, certainly sounded the klaxon about, I guess, what life was like that time. And she had a couple others of that sort. And then she might have had a romance novel or two, but that was like... So they rang up and they left. And my assistant manager just kind of looks at me, and I just kind of look back at him, and we nodded. And we were just like, did you just want to grab that guy by the lapels and just say, dude, your wife has some things she wants to talk about because she is not happy with you. And, he's kind of like this good old boy type, right? But just the window into people's lives based on their reading choices was that to me was a fun part of working at a bookstore. That and the employee discounts. But yeah. Expeditionary Force by Olson. Wow, okay. Yeah, I'll have to I'll have to look those up because I don't know that name. But that sounds very much like kind of a super cheese sci-fi. Yeah, it sounds like the sci-fi version of exactly the kind of books I was talking about. And by the way, I've read some of those. Those, the Mac Bolins and the Executioners. They're dumb as hell. Just like Doc Savage, dumb as fuck, right? I mean, just the dumbest shit ever. But you catch them in the right mood, and they're just delightful. They're delightful because they're dumb, right? So, well, see, George, that's just like, now I must. So, I mean, it's not going to be super high priority for me, but I will make a note. I am going to notate. So, Expeditionary Force. I'm now aware. I am aware of their existence, thanks to you. So, but yeah, that was a fun time. Interesting. The only time I've ever, given my love for books, you think that I would have maybe pursued it more, but not as a career thing, but just as like, holiday jobs or something when I was younger, or something like that, or part-time, just weekends, just to be there. But yeah, but no, I had a good time. That one brief time I worked at a bookstore. Indeed, you do. You need some fromage at times. I don't know. But today it's sort of things where I'm in a fortunate enough position where if I can see myself just maybe like taking just weekend shifts. If there's a Books A Million in the next town over, and if they were hiring for weekend shifts, I can just see myself taking that job just to have it, right? Just to have like 2 days a week, and that might be enough for me to get an employee discount on, and that's all I would be doing it for, just to kind of be in the environment. Just, I mean, I can go there and shop anytime, but there'd be like, yeah, but, Let's see. But then I wouldn't want to take a potential job position away from somebody who might, like, need it because they really need the money. I wouldn't want to do that to someone, so, yeah. But it is a thought that I've thought at times. Oh, indeed. Indeed. Now, Lynn Carter, I'll sprag de camp. Edgar Rice Burroughs. Edgar Rice Burroughs is yeah, pure fromage. But, and Lynn Carter especially. But El Sprag de Camp, I have a big heart for El Sprag de Camp. I mean, I've enjoyed his fantasies, but I also Sprag de Camp was also kind of a historian. For those of you who might not be familiar with him, he is he's one of the the vintage authors from the old days, right? And he lived to a very ripe old age, right? I remember seeing him, coming to conventions, with his wife. He's probably well into his 80s. So this would have been as recently, maybe it's the 2000s. I would have to look up on Wikipedia to see when he finally passed away. And he was this incredibly distinguished-looking gentleman, right? Like he looked like he was out of a movie, where he might play a professor or scientist. He had the glasses and white hair, very dapper, Van Dyke beard that was like just expertly trimmed, right? And always and was dressed very, wasn't trying to be Beau Brummel or anything. He didn't overdress, but he just was always dressed in a very, distinguished manner, right? That made you look at him and be like, this is a very professorial, gentleman, and who could teach me many things, and who probably writes great books. And so I liked him as an individual because I would just sit down. I found myself one time at a convention when I just sat down and started talking to him and told him that I was a big admirer, which blew some friends of mine away. I couldn't understand why, because he never really gave across this, to me anyway, this demeanor of being a very intimidating person to approach. But I guess some folks that I knew did feel that way, because it's like, what, you sat down and you just talked to him? And I was like, yes. Why? What's wrong? He said, I don't know. He just seems so, right? But okay. I'm gonna finish my story after the train. Yes, the Ascot generation. I think he might have actually worn an ascot. He would wear tweed jackets or, or worsted, very well dressed. But I'm going to let the train have its time and get a few more pages in.
All right. Well, anyway, so I guess back to my tale. So I had, a really nice evening. Just sit in the con suite and just speaking to him. And, okay. But, oh, kill switch, that sounds awesome. So anyway, yes, so I was sitting there just speaking with him that night at the convention, and he told me a dirty joke, which blew my... I guess when you're younger and, you kind of look up to old people and they're just like, oh, they would never, they're just like, mind your P's and Q's, right? And I think they're... But no, it's like... and then I only kind of remember a bit of the punchline. I don't remember the joke from the very beginning. No, I remember bits of it. I won't repeat it. But anyway, but I was just like... And then he just said, yeah, so that was making the rounds in the 1930s, It's like, okay, now I know. So, but he was a delightful fellow. And yes, he did write, just enjoyably cheesy fantasy adventure stories. But he also wrote 2 nonfiction histories that are among my favorites. And for a long time, they were in mass market paperback. They were available from Ballantine Books, I think. I'm sure they've gone out of print. But they were about ancient civilizations. And one of them was called which had actually, I think, been a bestseller in its day. One of them was called The Ancient Engineers, and it's was real, and it's about how a lot of these old monuments, things that we found, like Chichen Itza, like the pyramids, like Machu Picchu, right, all that stuff. How, to the best of knowledge at the time, how all that was actually built, really built, to the best of what archaeological knowledge was at that time. And he wrote it, and he would tell these stories, but they in ways that were very accessible and as fun as his fiction. And they were almost kind of like travelogues too, because he had visited all of these places, right, every single one. And what he told me that night was that it was, he used to get, his publisher would tell him that he would get a lot of complaints from readers because they would pick that book up, expecting it to be like, this because, I guess because of the title, The Ancient Engineers, people were expecting to read some bullshit about UFOs or ancient aliens or astronauts. I mean, that was that, and that craze started back in the 1970s. And they didn't get that. They got facts, and it pissed them off. So, anti-intellectualism has always been with us. So that's the one that I really loved, Ancient Engineers. You can probably find it, I'm sure, on ABE Books or something. And then the other one, which was also mass market, was called Citadels of Mystery, and it was in that same, a similar kind of book, but it was more about the locations around the world that we know a little bit less of. I think Angkor Wat is in that one, and some others, right? So yeah, his histories, I read at a particular time that it was very eye-opening to me, and they were fun to read. And I'm sure I still have my copies of them in boxes somewhere. But yeah, those were absolute favorites. So I told him, I'm very glad that I got to meet him and talk to him and get told a dirty joke by him, and then tell him how much I love those books particularly. I got to do that during his lifetime and have that meeting. So that's just an anecdote to my experience. But yes, Elsbrag de Camp is one of the old guys that I really do love. So. The clock has run down, but I want to give it maybe, with, you know, with everyone's permission, of course. I'll maybe go about another 5 to 10 minutes, because I want to get to the end of this chapter here, if that's all right with you. I'm sure none of you will object, because it is such a lovely, peaceful evening, even though I'm talking too much. But let's listen to the katydids and the crickets a little longer. What do you say? Hello, Gregory. You're up in the wee hours of the morning. If you're asking about the thing that's making that little double chirp sound, yeah, that's called a katydid. It's a little green insect that looks a bit like a grasshopper, but more leafy. That sound. Yeah, it's called a katydid. A K-A-T-Y-D-I-D. And that is their little mating chirp. So this is their time to, you know, time to get their hookups in for the late summer. Okay. All right. Well, I suppose with that, I am going to call it an evening. All right, everyone? So, it's been a good stream. It feels like it's flown by tonight, doesn't it? But, I got off to a good start on this one. I have a feeling this is getting off to a good start, I have to say. It's very cool and already a little spooky, and it has my interest. So, there we go. That's the alarm. So, anyway, thank you all so much for showing up. George, thank you for your generosity as always. I enjoyed reminiscing there a little bit and just hanging out with all of you. It's wonderful to spend my Thursdays with every single one of you. So I hope that all of you have a fantastic week. Yeah, got a good dent into the chakra. Excellent. Good to know. Good to know. Oh, Gregory, I'm here every Thursday night, same time. You're a great many hours ahead of me, so if you are ever, up overnight, feel free to join up. So thank you all again, and I will see you next Thursday, same as always. And, okay, good progress, Devlin. Excellent. So, Kelswitch, I'll check out everything you put into the Discord. Everybody, love you guys. Thanks for being my SFF180 fam, and until I see you next time, stay safe.